Hello and welcome to a rather cold and dreary November day here in Nova Scotia. And I'm feeling pretty cold and dreary too after my early works Christmas party last night. But I'm feeling optimistic as well, and I'm feeling optimistic about next year and being able to grow some different plants and also to extend my growing season, because I'm going to be building a greenhouse. And I'm going to be building a greenhouse out of pallets. As you can see in my rather scruffy compostarium area there, I've got all the pallets over there. And it's going to be about 10 foot by 7 foot. I've sort of marked it out already. And as you can see, I was in my marking out, I've already managed to uncover another great big rock, which is the usual thing in my garden. And it's going to be it's going to have a polytunnel type roof, and I'm going to use this electrical conduit. This is a bit stiffer than the usual the white sort of plumbing conduit that people often use, and so I thought I'd have an experiment with this, because you know we get a bit of snow here and sometimes wet snow, and it lays on the polythene, etc. And that white plastic has got a tendency to bow, so this might be a bit stiffer. This is what I'm going to use. So like I said, 10 foot by 7 foot, and I'm going to have raised beds either side along here, and probably a bench up to the pallet size there. So let the grafting begin. So the first things I've been doing is basically getting all the pallets out and matching them up for sort of matching side both ways. And then the first thing I've realised on doing that is I've actually got quite a few different size pallets. So I've got the squarer ones here, which is what I thought I had and what I measured the space up with. They were like 3.5 foot or something. And now apparently I've got these big long ones, more oblong ones. So my greenhouse is now actually not going to be 10 foot, it's going to be 12 foot long and probably about just over 7 foot wide, like I said. So that's what the first thing I'm doing now here is just, like I said, matching each of these pallets up either side so we get a sort of roughly equal, and then I'm making sure that they're roughly level all the way along, you know, so it doesn't look like a complete higgledy-piggledy greenhouse. So these square ones are going to go on the end, because I only need 2 of these. So obviously that side will be where the door is, and I'll have to cut some pallets down to fit however I have the door. So I'm quite happy that it's going to be 12 foot long, a bigger greenhouse. You can't be unhappy about that. So I've done that. Because obviously these pallets aren't weatherproof, or that some of them aren't weatherproof, I'm going to be wrapping them in plastic all the way, you know, at the bottom, all the way round. And then after that I'm going to put a layer of plywood all the way along, and then to make it look nice as, you know, a pallet greenhouse with a polytunnel roof can look, with a nice bit of cedar siding, I think. So that will be the finish. That's a little bit further to go for that, but I'm pleased so far. It's starting to rain now, so my boy's looking at me very unhappily and saying with those, "Dad, can we go inside" eyes. So I'm going to go inside, probably complete it next weekend, but jobs are good and so far. Okay, so it's a couple of days after the last scene I've just been filming, and I'm only really able to get something like an hour after work to work on this. So what I've managed to do is I have covered this side and this side in polythene all the way round, and I've just got some temporary sort of cross supports in at the moment on this side and this side, so that's just given me a little bit of rigidity, and that's allowed me to put some some little fixing pieces between this one and this one in here, which I'll show in a minute in my little description. This bit here, I'm actually going to get one that goes all the way along as long as possible with a little lip. I'm going to fix it down here with a little lip over the top, which is going to allow me for where I'm putting the so imagine that's a bit of plywood, so the plywood is going to go there, and then the siding on top, and then that lip should cover the both of them, so that when it rains it won't be going down behind. That's the theory anyway, of most side. So that will go, I'll screw that down all the way along here and just carry on putting the sides around. So better get on with it. So here I'm fixing the front end corner bit to the sides, and as you can see, I just getting a bit better. I am using some small bits of 2x2. I'm screwing into this side and this pallet, because I haven't really got anything. This is a sawn off pallet, and I haven't got anything to fix it to otherwise. And I could get brackets, but I want to try and use old bits of stuff, recycle everything I can for this as much as is possible. So sturdy enough, that'll do me. Hello, so it's November the 29th or the 30th. A couple of days I haven't been able to get out here again. Last night we had a bit of a storm. I think most of the east coast of Canada and North America had a bit of a nasty storm last night, and as you can see now we've got a nice bit of snow coming down. So challenging conditions today, and all my plastic blew off the back side of the greenhouse last night, so I've got to try and figure out a way of putting that back on with this wind coming. But I spent my formative years on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, a British aircraft carrier in the North Atlantic, so I'm sure I can overcome these conditions to carry on. But at the moment I'm concentrating on putting these top caps on here, and I've got, this is actually a 2x8. I meant to get a 2x6, but I picked the wrong ones up. And what I'm doing here is screwing them down all along, and that's allowing all the pallets underneath to be pulled in nice and tight. And now we've got it nice and sturdy now. That's good. And there's that lip that I'm talking about overhanging here. So when I put on the boards, plywood, etc., all along here, this will overhang that. So that's good. And any drips will sort of just go down rather than down the back of the plywood and the coverings. So that's good. And this is also where I'm going to drill the holes. So stay there, so that my tube, so I'm going to drill out some holes there, and the tube will just go directly into the holes, and then I can bend that over to form the frame. So I'll be carrying on with that. Just literally screwed it all the way down, and that's nice and stiff now. So I'll keep going. So, situation report. I've got all four sides in now, and I put these top caps all the way along on all four sides. Nice and sturdy now. Bit of weight on it. And now I'm starting to put some siding down this side here. It's extremely windy today, so I'm going to keep this to a minimum. One thing that's just struck me is I don't think I've put up my actual design so far in the video. So here's a quick look. As you can see, we've got the four sides, and it shows where I've got siding down, etc. And it shows the hoops going over, and it also shows, which I just had an idea yesterday or the day before, that to mitigate, wind and the possibility of the greenhouse moving, I'm going to put raised beds all the way around the outside of three sides of the greenhouse, and that should have a couple of good effects. So like I said, I think that'll obviously weigh the garden, the greenhouse down, so the greenhouse won't move. It'll actually insulate the raised beds that are on the inside as well, so they'll be a bit warmer, longer, and I think it will deter critters from going in at least those sides of the greenhouse. So there's a good few things there. So that's one of my brilliant ideas, and I amaze myself sometimes with my brilliance. So let's have a little tour of what has been done so far. So as you can see, and as I explained, I've got all four sides in now. And I've got these top pieces all the way down on all four sides. And on this side I've started to put the plywood in, and that's going to go around all four sides. And then on top of that I'm going to be putting some siding, some cedar, that cheap cedar, but it looks good. So that's there, and as you can see, let's have a look, nice and sturdy when I give it a shake, pretty good and sturdy. And what I've decided as well, on the inside I'm going to be doing plywood as well, because there's no point having that open because it's not going to get any light in, so I might as well put plywood all the way around. And as I'll be having raised beds, I'll have to put something against the polythene, so I might as well do the plywood all the way around. And on this side, this is where it's going to be a bench, because that is south facing that way, so that's not going to get a lot of sun there, so it makes sense to have a high bench, and then I can put pots etc on top, and the sun will be coming in at them there. So there we go. Let's have a look, and I've started a bit of plywood. So I'm just sticking plywood anywhere at the moment, so I have to make the minimum cuts. There we go, it's looking good. Had a bit of trouble with this side this morning because of the wind and the polythene coming off, but I managed to get it sorted. So there we go. Back at it, and then I'll come back with another situation report when I have some more progress. Okay, I'm going to carry on. I'm just going to finish flashing this side with the plywood, and then I'm going to have a little go at putting some hoops and see how they match up. The one problem, I've ordered the polythene, but it's not going to come for another 2 weeks, I don't think. So I'm going to get most of everything else part of the greenhouse done before I actually get the polythene on, which is no big deal. I'll probably have it all the plywood all the way around, probably have the door frame up, etc. So we'll see how we get on. Okay, so that's me done for the day. I think I've done a pretty good day's work today. It's been not the most nicest conditions I've ever worked in. It's been around zero, but the wind has dropped it below zero all day, and then it snowed on and off. But you know, you just got to crack on. As we used to say in the Navy, we've all got a BA in making do. So we just get on with it. So I finished up. We've actually getting a couple of hoops in. I'll show you in a bit more detail later with the holes, but I've got a hoop in either side, and I've got this back frame in as well. I've basically a bit of 2 bits of 4x2, and I've screwed them into the back pallet here and this top piece, and this is going to form the frame, this top frame here, where I'm going to have a long frame that goes all the way along. And what I'm basically going to, Ethan, can you pass me that little bit of wood there, please? Good lad, there you go, thank you. Well, I'm going to have this long piece that goes the length, either side, the length of the actual greenhouse, and what I'm going to do is drill holes through each of these lengths, and that will provide some extra support for the hoops. So hopefully that will do a good job. So that's in nice and secure now, and then when I put the cross frames in and then secure it to the door frame and the cross bit there, that will provide some real good security for these hoops and when the polythene goes on. But I'm freezing now, so I'm going in to have a nice well-earned cup of tea, and hopefully I can carry on tomorrow. Oh, I reckon this video is going to be about just over 10 minutes long, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off at the end of this one now, and that's going to be how to build a greenhouse with pallets part 1. So you'll have to tune in to part 2,
to see how I get on. Am I going to finish it? Oh, it's like a thriller with a does he or doesn't he ending. Anyway, see you later. Job's definitely been a good one so far.